Hi everyone, how are you guys today? My name is Brandy. I am with Brushed by Brandy. And I'm going to turn this light off because it's weird. There we go. Alright, sorry, that was kind of blinding me. So I'm here live today on the Redesign with Prima page. My name is Brandy. I'm with Brushed by Brandy. I'm a Dixie Paint Brand Ambassador. I'm also a Brand Ambassador for Redesign with Prima. So I'm here today because I wanted to work on something with you guys. I have a pet peeve. And my pet peeve is wooden knobs. I hate them. I hate them. I take them off everything. In fact, let me show you guys my collection. This is all wooden knobs. I save them because I save everything. But I want to show you guys some options that I found that actually make these wooden knobs pretty. Because how many pieces do we get that have wooden knobs on them and they're not pretty? Like, they're ugly. These are primed, but I mean, there is nothing more 70s than a big, fat, chunky wooden knob. I have no comments. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm going to show you guys a few options for making over wooden knobs. And these are techniques that you can use on your whole piece too, but I love them particularly for the knobs. So I'm going to tip my camera down because I want you guys to get a bird's eye view of what I'm working on, which is right down here. Okay, so these are some of my knobs, and I've just set them up. Sorry, just gave me a message. Okay, I've got them set up here on just a cardboard box, and this is just a box from Costco, and I leave the hardware in the knob itself, and then that screw just pokes through these holes that are already in the box. So I've got 6 knobs here that I've got set up, and we're going to do a few different looks on these today. Now, the first thing I want to start with is we are going to put some patina on some of these, some Dixie Patina paint. The colors I've got are bronze with the blue spray, which is one of my favorite combinations. Oh my gosh, you guys. So if you guys watched me the other day, Facebook was not updating the comments unless I manually updated them, and it's doing that again. And then it keeps giving me this message. Okay. Oh, I'm so over technology. So I will try to keep up with comments, but if I don't, it's because I'm not seeing them. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to jump straight in, and I think we're going to tackle one of these larger guys. So these ugly wooden knobs come in all different sizes. And I'm going to start with one of these big guys. We're going to do some fun stuff on this. So the first thing I would do to this is I'm going to take it, and this is a Surf Prep Rad Pad. So these are just higher end sanding sponges. And you can see I've used this one before, and I'm going to use it again. And I'm just going to take this and I'm going to wrap my knob, and I'm going to sand off any uneven parts on it. These have been primed before. I don't need to take it down to the raw wood. I just want to make sure that it's nice and even. No chipping or peeling in either the varnish. And I'm going to sand my knobs. I'm going to do that to a couple of these so I don't have to do this step again. Got Ginger out here with me today too. She's over in the corner chewing on her bone. Alright, so I'm just sanding the tops of these, making sure some of this is old loose varnish. Some of these knobs can crackle, like this one's got some crackling in the finish. And I just want to make sure anything that's loose comes off of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and just clean these. So I'm just going to take a tap cloth, and I'm going to take that sanding dust off, and now I feel like these are ones I can work on. I'm going to put them right back in their holes. So I'm going to show you a few different techniques today, but the one we're going to start with is we are going to add molds to these guys, and we're going to patina them. And it's really, really a beautiful look. Okay, last one. Just sanding over the tops of them, making sure I get around the edges too. And these rad pads are nice because they can wrap, so I can get into the crevices of these knobs, and then I can just turn it in there. And it gives me a really nice, easy sand. I cannot see any comments, you guys, again, which always makes this fun. I'm just talking to myself over here, unless I manually update them. Thanks to Facebook, they always got to make things better, right? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do with these, let me set my patina paint inside, and we're going to put some molds onto the top of this hardware. So there are some of the Redesign with Prima molds that work better than others for hardware, and I usually look for, this is one of the new ones. This is the Ancient Findings mold. This just came out. You can find these at the link I put above in the post. You can see I've already used mine. It's got some resin stuck on it. But I'm looking for, they have this nice round design here, and these will fit nicely on top of my hardware. So I think we're going to use one of these, and this is another mold. This is an older one that I also like for hardware. This is the Etruscan Accents mold, and I think we're going to use one of these too. So I don't know, do you guys have a favorite? I kind of like this guy right here. I think we might use that. So I'm going to cast these designs out of the Redesign modeling material. And I do a lot of my molds out of resin. I like modeling material, number one, because it gives you instant gratification. They come right out and I can attach them right away. It also has a tendency to crack a little bit, and I think that's a cool look because we're going to patina these knobs. The cracking is going to look really authentic with this. You just got a huge desk with wooden knobs. Okay, this is perfect because you don't have to throw them away. This is a couple options you can do to keep them and make them look pretty. Oh, Facebook. Okay, so this is the Redesign modeling material, and it is like adult Play-Doh. It's Play-Doh. Like this is, I get to play with Play-Doh. This is the 2-pound tub. It also comes in smaller packages, and when you open this up, this is what you see inside. I've got a couple, blocks that are already used, but you get 9 of these in a 2-pound tub. In the smaller packages, you get 2 of these. So those are really nice too. So I just pull this out, and I'm going to pull off a chunk of about what I'm going to use. Now, when I pull off this chunk, I always take excess from my block. I take more than what I think I'm going to need. And the reason is because if you try to piece together the modeling material, you're actually going to get more cracking than if you just pull off a big chunk. So I would rather have excess and get a nice consistent piece, and then I can take that off. So you don't need to dust your molds with anything to use with the modeling material. It's going to release really easily. So where's the one I decided on? We might make a couple of these because I think I have enough modeling material to do 2. So let's pick, I like this design here, and then I like this one here too, I think. It's got good details. So I'm going to press my modeling material into my mold. And you can see I've overfilled my mold. That's way too much modeling material. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to press against the edges of my mold. And it pulls off a really nice clean edge, and then I end up with these little bits, and these are totally reusable. So I just pull it against the mold itself, rubbing with my finger until I get a nice, I want my back to be as even as possible. And then once I get the main chunks off, I'm going to sit and I will just pull and clean off the very edges. And that gives me a nice smooth back. And then I just smooth it out a little bit with my finger, because when I attach this, if it's lumpy or bumpy, it's going to cause it to be raised above my knob itself. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. Again, I'm going to take my thumb. I'm just going to pull this excess off of the mold. So those chunks I put in were way too big for my molds, but that's okay because I just end up with these bits that I can reuse. I'm going to come over here and I'm actually going to cast one of these with my leftovers. So this is the Ancient Findings mold. I actually think I can get 2 of these too. So I'm going to do, let me show you guys. I like this guy right here. It's got a profile on it. Looks like a coin. I like that one. I think I'm going to do this one down here too. Guys, I'm so sorry I cannot see comments at all. I was live twice this weekend and it was the same thing. Unless I manually update it, in which case I throw my modeling material on the floor. I've got to see that. Okay. So I think it was this one I was casting. Okay. So I'm going to focus on this one, same thing. I'm going to rub my thumb against the mold and it's just going to pull all that excess. And then this can go right back in your bucket and you can use it again for a future mold. So the modeling material is great. I like to teach classes with it. It gives that instant gratification. They will come out, you come out immediately with a mold that you can actually use. Now a couple things. People ask, because the modeling material does shrink a little bit as it dries, a couple ways you can avoid that. When it shrinks, it can curl. And so what you do is leave it in your mold to dry, and that will help it dry flat. These, I actually want a little bit of cracking, so I'm not worried about that at all. I'm just smoothing out the backs here with my finger. I can also add a drop of water to the back of this. If you got really lumpy, bumpy, you can add a little spritz of water and just smooth them out. Okay. So now I'm going to put back this is all I have left from the chunk that I took, and I'm going to put this back in my container because that is still usable. Got a little bit on my finger. Okay. I'll put this back. And now I've cast really simply 4 molds. Now one thing I like to do is I like with this one, I like to choose a different one. So say my furniture piece has 4 knobs on it, or even 6. I will choose 1, 2, 3, 4 of these different, and I'll make each knob a little bit different. You know, 5, 6, you can do however many you like. But I like each knob to be a little bit different, and that adds a lot of character to the piece too. So now I can take these and I'm going to work my mold, and I'm just going to pop. You see how that pops out? And I'm just going to pop these out. Now this is still wet modeling material, so it's very flexible. I don't want to push on the front because I'll start to lose the design. And I'm going to pop this one. I just work the silicone, and I'm very gentle with my actual casting itself. I've got 2. We put this mold aside, and then we'll pop these out too. Look at that. Look at the detail in those. Can you see her hair and her face? Very pretty. And this one's got a really cool profile on it. And then I'm looking at my knobs, and I'm going to choose the ones that are the most, got 6 out. I'm going to choose the ones that are the most appropriately sized for the castings that I did. So I like, this is a little bit larger. I'm going to fit it to this larger knob. I think I like these guys. I'm going to test them out on some of these. I can either put it on the larger knob and it sits kind of in the center, which I do like. And I think we'll do a smaller one too. So I have other plans for these guys over here. So now, how do I attach them? So while this is still wet, these are really pliable. So I'm going to take my Titebond Quick and Thick. This is, Titebond is a wood glue, and this is the Quick and Thick model. And I like this stuff for attaching stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and attach these. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. Now when you glue a mold while it's still wet, it does encourage cracking. And the reason is because that glue adds moisture. And it's going to cause the back side of this to dry at a different rate than the front side. And that's what causes the cracking. That's okay, because remember I told you I'm going to patina these, and I want them to look old. And I'm just taking and I'm gently pressing this down to my knob. My Quick and Thick, there's a little bit around the edges, and I actually like that because it seals off the edges, gives me a nice smooth edge, instead of having a gap in between my mold. So that guy's on there. Let's go ahead and do this one. Same thing, a little bit of glue. I want to make sure the back is fully covered so I get full coverage when this is sandwiched into my knob. And then I'm just going to press it down gently. I don't want to ruin the relief on the front of this, so I'm just using my fingers and I'm gently, while it's pliable, see how I can mold it to the curvature of a round surface? That's really pretty. And then I've just got a little border around the edge of my knob. I'm going to try to update. Hi Stacy, I can't see my comments. Rochelle, isn't it cool? Mention again how long it's best to wait to paint. I'm going to paint it right now. I'm going to paint these while they're wet. That's not ideal, but I'm on camera, so I would usually probably wait overnight for these to dry. I check on them periodically just to make sure my glue is staying attached, but I would usually wait overnight for these to dry. That's really pretty too, huh? Can you imagine? That's a dramatic knob. I actually really love that. That is really cool. Okay, this is the other bust from the Ancient Findings mold. Little bit of my Quick and Thick right onto my knob. And then I'll work around the edges, because can you see when you first attach it, like this side wants to pop up a little bit. So I'm just going to work around it. And I'm slowly pressing it down very gently because I don't want to lose any of the detail on the front. I'm going to make sure it's centered on my knob so that space around the edges is even looking. This makes really ornate hardware. Like, that's one of a kind, totally unique, really ornate. Okay, so that's cool. And then this is our last one I'm going to attach. I don't have any plans for pieces for these, but I can come back and make a set later because I have 10,000 wooden knobs. This one, the medallion is a little closer size to the top of my knob, so you can see how this one had a larger knob and this one's a little bit smaller, and either way it looks really pretty on a large or a small knob. We're going to do something to these two over here, but it doesn't involve molds, so we'll come back to these. Okay, so that looks pretty well centered. I like that guy. That's really, really, really pretty. These would be expensive knobs to purchase something this ornate. Okay, and now I would normally wait overnight and I would let these dry on my hardware, but we don't have the luxury of dry time on camera. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint these. And I told you the first set I want to do in Dixie Belle Patina paint. And I'm going to do this one first because that way, hopefully, while we work on the other ones, I'll have a little bit of time for the patina reaction to start happening. So this is the bronze patina paint. And the bronze works well with either the blue or the green patina spray. So I'm going to use blue in this case. This is one of my favorite patina combinations, is the bronze paint with the blue spray. And how this works is there's actually metal particles in the paint that react with the spray, and it's going to cause corrosion in the paint, a very authentic corrosion. So these come in copper, bronze, and iron. Now the bronze gets really good coverage on its own. The iron, you do need to use a base coat of a similar color. So you would use a base coat of, say, a darker color like Dixie Belle. This is Gravel Road, but you want to put something under the iron. The copper and the bronze you can paint on their own. I wish I could reach the comments with my paintbrush. I can't. I gotta stand up and do it with my finger. Sherry, you love to upcycle. I know I don't throw anything away, and I'm always grateful that I don't, because I mean, I end up coming back to these things time and again. So let's see, which one should I patina? I think we're gonna patina this. The coin would be pretty in patina. So I'm gonna paint my patina paint directly onto. Ideally, I would have a dry mold. This is a wet one, so I'm going to be extremely careful because the moisture of my paint and the wet mold too, I don't want to degrade that image at all. I'd still like to be able to see the bust that's on there, so I'm just being really gentle. So ideally, I would wait overnight, let my mold dry, and then I would come back and add the paint after that. You can accelerate this a little bit with a heat gun, but it's easier just to let it dry. Okay, so I've got a coat of paint on that. Now the instructions on patina paint are you want to paint a coat and then let it dry, and on your second coat is when you add the spray. So we're going to put this back in our hole, let that dry. Should we do a second one in patina? Let's go ahead and do a second one in patina. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let's do one of the flowers actually. Let's do this guy. Same thing, I'm just going to coat this in my this is my bronze. I'm being super gentle because my molds are still wet because I just cast them. Hopefully yours would be dry by now. I mean, you can do this. You can paint it while they're still wet. It's just, again, the paint is also adding moisture. It's going to alter the dry rate. Could get more cracking. And I'm trying not to leave brush marks in that wet modeling material either. Okay, these are going to dry pretty quickly. I'll hit them with a heat gun if I need to. I'm going to save this brush because we're going to put that on again, but let's go ahead and put a coat of regular paint on these two guys up here. Oh, hang on, my puppy just lost her toy. Oh, your ball. Oh. Now she thinks I'm going to play with her. Wrong. They're going to be so cool. They're so cool. Okay, trust me, because this is just the beginning of the process too. So let me grab another brush and let's paint these two guys here with Dixie Belle drop cloth, which is a creamy white color. So I'm going to take my drop cloth and throw a coat of paint right onto these. Being super gentle because I don't want to lose the detail in that mold. I also don't want to pull them up because my glue is still wet. This is not ideal. You really want to let your piece have dry time. So you just stick them in your cardboard box and forget about them overnight. Set it and forget it. You guys, since I can't see comments right now, I will come back after I'm live and I'll answer any questions that I missed. If you guys have any questions, I was live this weekend and this was going on too, and you guys are really good about helping each other out too. So if anybody's got a question on here that you can answer for them, you know, like that's always helpful to me too, since I can't answer them live. And that's just because Facebook is not updating the comments unless I manually update it myself, and then that makes it really hard to paint at the same time. Okay, so I've got a coat of drop cloth on there, and it looks like it belongs as part of the knob now. So I'm going to set this back into my box. See how nice these flats are? I'm going to touch this one because it just tipped over. But these flats are really nice for working on knobs. I've got a nice work surface here. And then I'm going to do this guy here, same thing, a coat of drop cloth. It's actually a fun therapeutic project too. I like detail work. I really like detail work. I think it's one of those things you either love it or you hate it. Okay, and then I'm going to get around the edges. I'm holding it by the screw and I'm going to paint around the edges of this knob. I don't worry about the back of it, but I just want to get around the edges and the side. Okay, and that one looks really pretty too. Can you see her on there? That's beautiful. That is a gorgeous piece of hardware. I'm actually kind of excited for those. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint these plain knobs. We're not putting molds on these, but I'm going to show you something else for these. So I'm going to just throw a coat of paint on here. This is Dixie Belle drop cloth that I'm using. So coat of drop cloth on these. All we did on these is we sanded them a little bit and cleaned them, and now I'm just painting them. And we'll get to these in just a few minutes. I'm gonna hit these a little bit with a heat gun just to dry my paint. So plain coat of drop cloth. I will do the same on this guy, plain coated drop cloth. All these are totally different wooden knobs. I've got a huge collection of these. I do end up using them, so I save them. I throw the screws that belong with them in the back, and I put them in a bag. It's an apple bag, but this is all full of wooden knobs that I've taken off random pieces. I never like wooden knobs, but I love them when they're made over. It's a really clean, nice coat of drop cloth on that guy too. Okay, I'm gonna hit these with a heat gun a little bit just to dry my base coat of paint, and we're gonna come back and put another coat on these. Plugging in my heat gun, hang on guys. Okay. Update comments while I'm up. Hi Lisa, hi Tracy. You like the bronze without the activator? You can use the bronze paint. The bronze and the copper get really good coverage. God, it keeps telling me to rotate my phone. The bronze and the copper get really good coverage even without the spray, and they're really rich metallics. So Dixie Belle does not have a bronze and a copper metallic in their line. They don't need one. You can use the patina paint. I'm drying the paint. My mold and my glue underneath are going to stay a little bit wet. This is not to dry those. I'm just trying to dry the paint. Because for the finishes on these, I do want to have dry paint. The paint dries really quickly, but the mold and the glue take a little bit longer. Okay, we're going to repeat that last step. And we're going to put another coat of paint on these. You know, I'm going to do the patina, let's do the drop cloth first, because I need to spray the patina. So another coat of drop cloth on these. Same exact process. You can do a light sand in between coats if you want to get a really clean, smooth finish. I'm not really worried about it on these. And around the edges. Clean up the front a little bit, and that's what I've got. Okay, pop that one back in here. Have a little chunk in my paint. This is not a new container of paint. It's been well used, and I paint right out of my containers, which is a bad habit. So I'm just painting all around the edge, clean that up, clean the top up. So I've got nice clean brush strokes. Pop it back in there. And then let's get these guys. Second coat, still being gentle on these because they have that wet mold on the top of it. In fact, I'm actually going to add a little mist of water just to make my paint run into the crevices instead of me having to push it in there. Just because they are so wet and I'm asking so much of a wet mold right now. Okay, that's gorgeous. I think the molded ones usually end up being my favorite. We've got a plan for these guys over here, but I'm not there yet. I'm going to do the same thing to this guy. I'm going to give it a little spritz of water just so my paint runs into the crevices instead of me having to force it in there. Just thins the paint out and it will find the low spots for me. Dixie Belle is a self-leveling paint. I'm going to clean up this as much as I can. I'm trying to not lose that detail, but 2 coats of wet paint on a wet mold, it's feeling the stress. Put the lid back on my drop cloth because we're all done with that. And let's put another coat. I'm going to get my patina spray ready. Now when you get the patina spray, it comes in the container like this. I take the lid off and I'm going to save this because you don't want to store your patina spray with the sprayer in the bottle. And the reason is it can cause corrosion inside your sprayer, and these will clog and you'll only get one use out of them. So I flush these out after every use, and I store it always with this little black lid. So don't throw this away. And I'm going to put the sprayer inside the bottle. Just broke a fingernail. I know, what was I thinking? Trying to have them nice in the first place. I'm a painter, right? Okay, same thing. I'm going to go ahead and give this a mist. I mean, barely any water. Just enough to thin out that paint a little bit. And this is my second coat of the bronze patina paint. This is the coat where you want to add your spray. It does work if you add it on the first coat, but you're going to get better coverage and more reaction if you do it on your second coat. So that's got wet paint on it now. Let's give this guy some wet paint. If I have cracking in my molds as they dry, because I attached them and I painted them while they're wet, I can come back and I can touch it up with patina paint. I can just paint right over the top with another little spot of paint to touch it up. Or I can let those cracks show. So that's the bronze. See it on the bust? All right, let's give these guys a spray. So then while that paint is still wet, I'm going to take my patina spray and I'm just going to spray these guys. I'm going to try to not get, in fact, I'm probably going to, let me move this knob. I don't want to get those guys. I need to prime this pump a little bit, give it a couple pumps. Maybe if I opened it up, that would help. Another thing you can do with the spray is you can put it into your mister bottle and it will give it a really nice, fine, consistent mist. So then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to brush the spray into my paint a little bit. And I'm going to brush it around the edges. And then that spray is going to find all the little metal particles that are in that paint, and it'll start causing a chemical reaction. I got crooked. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I like a lot of reaction, so I'm going to go ahead and spray these guys again. I can't touch it, but I'm going to dip you guys down to show you. If I can, I'll have to lift this up. Okay, I like how the spray settled into the crevices on that knob. Can you guys see that? It's going to have heavier reaction inside those crevices. Same with this guy right here. Kind of settled into the crevices. Now it's going to start reacting. It usually takes about overnight to get the full reaction out of it. And it's just one of those things you got to let happen. You can accelerate it a little bit with a heat gun. I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm going to use it to dry this paint that's on here so we can go to the next step on those. I'm just drying the paint. I'm not really hoping to dry the molds right now. I'm just trying to dry the paint. While I'm doing this, let me pop my comments up. And I can tell when the paint is dry because I just can see the sheen change from a wet sheen. And I'm going to hit these a little bit with a heat gun just to accelerate the reaction. I can already see it starting to happen. It's so cool. Okay, we'll leave those to hang out on their own while we work these guys a little bit. So the next thing I would do on here is I can take, and I could put glaze on these and I could really accentuate some of these details. I'm going to take a little bit of Decore wax. This is Redesign Decore wax in Eternal. So they're gold. And I'm just going to hit some of these high points right here to accentuate the details on the mold. So I just take some on my finger. And I lightly run it over that, and it just hits the high points on there and brings out the details of that mold. So I would like this more with some glaze down in the low points to make those dark. I don't think I could put glaze on this, it's so wet. I've cut 2 coats of paint, some glue, a wet mold on here. I don't think I could put glaze on it and rub it off and not totally destroy this. So I just put a little bit of decor wax on there. I'm going to do the same thing with this right here, which is it's a bust. I'm just going to hit the high points with a little bit of decor wax. And then you can really see her hair. I can put as much or as little as I want. I did put some on her face, but I could just put it around in her hair and that would be pretty. I'm going to go a little heavier just on her hair. I think I actually like it just in her hair. And then you can really start to see the detail on those. Okay. These, I can see the reaction starting to happen. Let me show you what's happening. Can you see how it's turning colors in there? That blue spray, it's getting bits of white in it. It's not even all the way around the edges, so I've got some of the paint showing through. And I could do that too. I can take, and if I just dry brush some of this copper paint, it's going to make the high points of this stay the metallic, and just my low points will react with the spray. I'll get less reaction in some places. This is the other one. It's got a little more white in it, but it's gonna look old and crusty like an old coin on there. Now this one I didn't get very even spray around the edges. I'm going to go ahead and give this another spray. I'm going to come off camera and do this behind here so I don't get any of my other pieces. But I just sprayed some around the edges and now I'm just going to brush that into my paint. Okay. And I just brushed some of my paint over the top of that. That's just going to make, you can control the patina. You can brush into it more of the paint where you want to have the reaction to have a little bit less. And then I'm going to let these guys go back to doing their thing. Okay, so while we're waiting on that, the plan that I had for these guys is another way you can update wooden knobs. You guys seen these? These are knob transfers. They're little baby circle transfers that are made just for putting on hardware. Although I've used these on jewelry boxes and all kinds of things. So let's pick one. They come in 2 different sizes. Some of them are larger. So look at these circles here are a little bit larger for this larger size of knob. And then some of them are a little bit smaller. Like these guys right here. You can see how many are on the sheet. You can tell the difference in the size. So I'm just going to choose one. We'll use a large and a small. Let me see what I've got here. Let's see. I think I'm going to use this little bumblebee in the middle here just because I've already got him kind of cut out. So I'll choose him on the smaller one. And do I have a large flower? And I do. And then I think I'll choose one of these guys on the big one, a Floral Design. Oh, scissors, where are you? Oh, they're there. Checking my comments. Do you have a video on the different patina sprays? I do. I do. I'm thinking. I filmed one. Did I ever put it out anywhere? I do. Where is it? So I'm just cutting these knob transfers out. I've done different patinas on camera before. You can go to my YouTube channel and you'll find those. I made one with all of the difference, but I don't think I put it out anywhere now that I'm thinking about it. I'll have to do that. I'll have to get that posted. And I have a photo as well. Okay, and then I can just take this. Once my paint is dry, so one of the huge things about transfers, you cannot put a transfer on wet paint. If there's any moisture whatsoever in your paint, it will not adhere. So I'm just going to take this, my paint is nice and dry, and I'm going to put this on top of my knob, I'm going to try to center it on there. And then these go on really easily. I'm going to use the transfer stick, but you can even use your fingernail with these because they're so small. It's like doing a transfer in miniature. That's why these work so good on jewelry boxes, these knob transfers, because they're miniature. See how easy that was? Isn't that cute? And then I could take a little bit of dark wax. I'm just rubbing the transfer on. I could take a little bit of dark wax and age the edges, or I could distress them, sand it a little bit, and I could age the edges of that. But that's a knob transfer on my background color, which is Dixie Belle Drop Cloth. That's cute. How easy is that? So let's do this guy over here. This is a floral design I'm going to put on here, and it's a little bit larger. These floral guys I love for the jewelry boxes. I do these on jewelry boxes. And this one has a little mold, a little ledge edge detail, so I'm going to make sure I rub it into that. These detach super easily. Number one, they want to detach because there's a curvature to my surface. And then I can just use my fingernail and rub it if there's any spots I missed, because it's so tiny. Take and rub that on. Should put a little bit of dark wax on these, huh? That's what's going to finish it off, I think. So these look more, these remind me of old ceramic knobs. So we've got so far these which have the decor wax on a mold. These have the knob transfers. And then these guys over here are drying with our patina on them. I would even take this patina and add a little bit of decor wax even to this, just around the edges. So this is this floral mold. Just gonna lightly hit the edges of this, so lightly. And it mixes. Now I've got the metallic bronze, I've got the blue corrosion, and then the gold. Looks really pretty. I could even out the spray right there if I wanted to. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that. My brush has some spray on it, so I'm just gonna brush that in. But I would call that one done. So from here, I would seal these like I would seal any piece of furniture, either with wax. That one's gorgeous. That's got nice patina all the way around the bottom going on. And then you can see on the top, I've got a little bit of blue. Let's add some gold to this guy too. I'm just gonna add it to the ring around. I'm not gonna add it to the face that's on there, the profile. So lightly with my finger. Just going around the edge of that medallion, adds a little bit of gold to there, makes it look kind of authentic, really old, like an old coin. Maybe I'll put a little bit on his hair. I don't know, I like to accentuate the hair, I guess. And that's what I've got there. I'm going to put this away. I'm going to actually get a little bit of dark wax. And let's put some dark wax onto those first knobs we did. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is a really, really worn down sanding sponge. These are our knobs with the knob transfers on them. I'm just giving that a light sanding. I mean, really, these are really worn down sanding sponges. Light sanding on there too. I don't want to take any of the color out of my transfer. I just want to seed it a little bit and then make it look a little bit aged. And then I'm going to grab a brush. You know what? I may not even need to add any wax to this because it's so little and there's already wax in this brush. This has black wax in it. And I'm just going to grunge this knob up a little bit. I'm just going to go around the edges, like where the finger dirt would have gathered. That was black. Let me add a little bit of brown. This is Dixie Belle Besting Wax in brown. I mean, tiny bit of wax. Tiny bit. And I'm even going to dab that off on my box here. I'm just going around with a natural bristled artist brush and hitting the very edges of this knob. And I'll show you guys a little bit more. It's a nice contrast with the drop cloth paint. Wax around the edges. See how I darken the edges of that? I like that. You can do as much or as little wax as you want. I'm rubbing it out with my finger a little bit just to smooth it out and smear the edges. And that's where I land on it. I could even do some around underneath so it matches the top. That's really pretty. Let's do this guy here too. Tiny bit of wax, and I'm going to even lay that off. I'm just going around and hitting the edges of my knob. That, and then I think I'm even going to accentuate this crevice that it's got around here. I'm just going to kind of ride this crevice in here. And then I'm going to take a semi-clean finger and I'm going to work that wax in. Wax heats up to the heat in your body and also to the oils in your fingers. And then I can take and rub back the areas I want to be white. Clean those up a little bit. And I just scrunched it up a little bit. Let's try these guys. I'm going to be very gentle with these because I've got that wet mold and wet paint. But I'm just going to shadow the edge underneath this mold. And then work that out with my finger. Oh, that mold is so wet. If I touch it, I can feel the coolness in it that tells me that it's just very, very not dry at all. Because I think glaze would be really pretty on these. I could even put some dark wax in the center, but I know if I do that, I'm going to just smash this mold. And then I'm going to sand along the edges to expose some of that white. And that's where I am on that. Added a little bit of depth and dimension to it. These guys I wouldn't touch. These guys are fabulous. All right, you guys want to see up close on all the knob designs we came up with? Let me pull these all out. I'm going to hold them with my 6 fingers and show you guys all my knob bouquet. Oh, that's what you should make, a knob bouquet. Oh my gosh, that's genius. Wouldn't that be cute? Okay, you get a styrofoam ball and you stick the screws into the styrofoam ball and you can make a knob bouquet. Like they have those for weddings, because I made one for my sister's rehearsal dinner. I made her one with old brooches and you could do it with the knobs. See, that's everything we designed today. Maybe I'll take pictures of these. Okay, let me flip my camera back up. You can see my face again. 6 fingers, yeah. Okay. All right, you guys, that was it. That was our knob. All of our knob ideas. Any one of these knobs, I'll tell you what, is still better than this. Any one of those designs is a million times better than this. So hardware can be expensive. If you imagine you take a 6-drawer dresser and have to go buy new knobs at $3 to $5 a piece, that's even can be on the cheap side. You know, say you got your Hobby Lobby coupon, or it can be expensive. You can spend $40 to replace knobs, or you can just take and you can paint all your existing knobs. I've done this on a dresser, these patina knobs with molds. It looks phenomenal. It looks high-end. That's a high-end knob. Okay, so that was it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed making over my ugly wood knobs today. I kind of do want to make a knob bouquet. But I'm going to pop off. I might go live on my own page. I need to do some painting, so I might go over to Brush by Brandy and do some painting. So if you give me a little intermission, and then watch out on my page in probably a half an hour or so, I'll go live on there and do some painting. I have some blending to do on a highboy dresser. Alright, you guys, so my name is Brandy. I'm with Brush by Brandy. Go give me a follow if you don't already. I put links above in the post where you can find, number one, the Dixieville paint, the patina paint, and the regular paint colors that I used today in the video. You can find those at the link in the post. I always appreciate purchases through there. I make a small percentage. That's what pays for me to come on and do these videos with you guys. Give you inspiration for how to use the products on your pieces. And I also put a link in there for where you can find Redesign with Prima products, and that's, you can search for, you know, whatever they have in there. It's going to take you to a list of their molds and their transfers, but you can get the molds, the transfers, the waxes, everything is available through that link that I put in the post. So thank you guys for watching. Again, go watch my page, and I might pop on in 30 minutes or so. I'm going to go make myself a sandwich and do some painting with you guys. Have a great week, everyone, okay? I'll talk to you soon.